We're officially live for the B2B Community Builder Show, Season 5, Episode 182. I'm your host, Chief Executive Connector, Pablo Gonzalez. Welcome to the show. Today, we have somebody I've grown to really, really like these days, a stalwart of our community that proves that you show up, you give out enough value, you're part of the community, the stage is open if you are talented enough and you can bring it. She is a Oxford PhD candidate. I like to brag on that. She's a sailor. She's she can kick my ass for sure. She does MMA. I've heard that. Sure. I recently learned that. She's known to dance at airports. She's published a bajillion books. She is a fighter for human rights and the things that most people will turn away from. She heads straight into them to solve some of the biggest problems. She is my friend. Welcome to the show, Dawn. How are you?
I'm really tired. No, really good. I'm
you said
buzzing.
You're joining us from somewhere in tropical Central America. Today you are?
I'm in England and it's really cold.
Cold England, middle of the summer, cold in England. Welcome to the community. Today we are talking about publishing your core values and how important that is. And before we get to do that, we got the roll call. Don, you ready? It's going to be a quick one.
Yeah. Go on then.
All right. We got Rowan saying hi, everyone. Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. How did that Happy birthday, America, even though this is going to come out in the podcast later. Today is also Dawn's Entrepreneurial Independence Day. It is her work anniversary for independence. We got Lee Bishop, the MVP of the Not Your Average Investor Show community, is in the house. We got Gareth Beverly saying, oi, oi. He's in the chat saying hello. We got Brett Ruiz, my good friend and mentor from Ohio, which I assume is Ohio cold? Is Ohio cold, Brett? Let us know. I just got back from a 4th of July barbecue. I've had a couple of beers in me, but we're going to have a good time today. Dawn is on sleep deprivation. So we're just going to go straight into it. Dawn, when you approached me to be on the show, I was like, Dawn, I made it hard for you. I was like, Dawn, you got to give me a subject for that our community is thinking about, right? Like it's got to be something that a business leader is thinking, oh man, I've been wondering about this. I need to put some time in my calendar, show up to this. You came up with this idea of why it's so important to publish your core values, of which is something that I've been deep diving in, right? Like we have realized that the companies that really live by their core values and embed them into their business and lead with them are the companies we want to do business with. So what you were doing is taking it a step further, and it's publishing
always
a couple steps further, as you tend to do, publishing about your core values, right? Writing a book on it. Let's start with the first, let's take the first bite of the elephant. Why is it, what is it that is so important about placing this giant beacon around your core values? What is the big value? Why do people need to know about this?
Because you'll get past that whole thing of, I just can't keep my mouth shut on this any longer, because that's a distraction. And when you're distracted by stuff like that, you don't focus. You've always got something going on. It's annoying you. It's like that love punch. It's not that no longer a love nudge. It's starting to become a punch, and you can't ignore it. And when you've got stuff like that bothering you, you are distracted, and you've got to consider the fact that a lot of us are hiding. Even those of us who are speaking out, it's like, this is no hiding, because your book is going to be out there, your story, putting your name to something, so you are willing to risk it all to have it all. And if you're not willing to risk it all to have it all and put your voice and your name to something that's just going to elevate you, I just get so tongue-tied on this, because I get frustrated with people, because when you're in a one-on-one or you're in a group, you see these people and they light up and they get so fired up. And they tend to have these conversations over and over with friends and like with people in the workplace. Moving those and actually doing something about it, it elevates you in different ways. You become becoming like a chosen one in some ways. Thinking of a movie, being that it's 4th of July, and you watch movies and eat lots of food on the 4th of July, don't you? And you go out and you party and you chill out with a movie, like the golden one. You're the golden choice.
That the Eddie Murphy movie? The golden.
I have no idea. The only thing I think about with Eddie Murphy is Soul Glow.
So that's interesting. So what you're saying is that most of the time, or at least correct me if I'm wrong, am I hearing that most of the time people care about their business, but they really care about these like specific things? And if you are really caring about if you're working on one thing while you care about something else, until you let people know about it, it's like a cumbersome weight that slows you down. Is that kind of what you're saying? You're saying it's like this.
It is, because we all set up a business for a particular reason. We all set up the underlying premise of all our businesses, or why we're in business. There is something right at the heart of that, right at the core. It's like, you know what, I've got to set up this business. I've got to do something about it, whatever that is. And it's when we think about what human rights is, and social change and social justice, it's those moments where for example, there's a young lad that I know, single mom, couldn't find a place to live because she'd got a dog and kids. He's now setting up a business where he's buying property so that he can house mothers with children. That's the core underlying thing that happened to him in his childhood that is now developing this property business. There is a reason why certain people go into and it's that nugget, it's that juicy gold right in the heart of them that operates everything in their life. And if they're not willing to put a name to it and put their name to it, because of the ripple effect that it has, when you get a message from somebody who's read your book that you have no idea who they are, we were talking about the dark web, and how people come across us, etc. Everybody has set up a business. I hate bullies. One of the reasons why I work in human rights and social justice, because I was bullied at school. So the whole the whole premise of my business is to stand up to them and help other people stand up to them, because we as parents always say that, we stand up to the bullies in school. Why are you doing a podcast? There's something deep within you of why you're doing this building of community. Maybe it's a Latino in you. Maybe it's because, of your background of like your parents moving to the States and missing that community. There is something that is so deep within us. And when we harness that, everything in our life just flows. And we're not networking or sharing information with people on how to do something so that they can get ahead in business. We're being that role model for somebody who has no way of accessing us. We don't know, like books get left in marinas all the time. One of the books that what I do at the beginning of my books is I write the country where that book has been, and I encourage other people. And like you find, like you're picking up books now, it's been all around the world because it's been on the back of a boat, or it's been in someone's backpack, or it's been in this person's suitcase. You never know where your book's going to end up. And just doing a podcast or a video, that book can be found decades, generations later. Yeah. You just phone the library.
Yeah, I like where you're going with it, right? Because I think so. There's a couple of things that I really echo with. Number one is this idea that I see books as content, right? Like to me, one of the reasons why I like doing a podcast, why I like publishing content on the internet, is because I think it is a way to scale relationships, right? It's a way to build relationships with people when you're not around, right? Like it gives you leverage on that piece. The other thing that I really echo with is the idea that the reason why it's becoming more and more important to publish your core value, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase what you were saying a little bit, right? But like businesses are becoming more and more like each other. And, because of the internet, there's less and less competitive advantages. So what I see is a big kind of tailwind of companies that stand for more than just their P&L, right? Like companies that are trying to integrate their business model. Like I think Tom Shoes kind of really popularized it. And I'm sure many companies were doing this beforehand, but like Ben & Jerry's, Tom Shoes, Patagonia, right? Like these business models that have a mission tend to work really, really well for a couple of reasons. One, it's much easier to enlist somebody in a mission that they feel that they can echo with and work on together than it is to like, I want you to do the thing that I want. Right? That is a much easier proposition. And two, in a world where everything is becoming commoditized, the one thing that you can't commoditize is the person, right? So like the idea that as the founder of a business, really caring about something as tied to the core of your being, or just something that people care about, right? Like that by itself is a differentiating factor. And not everybody can build a business that is totally, totally unique. I'll tell you, it's really hard to create a business based on a formula of a thing that you invented, right? Like true story of like how you should do things, right? Like there's many more businesses that are like Brett's business, that is a design, build, bathroom remodeling and exterior construction company that he has been able to differentiate by installing core values into everything that they do, and have their people and their processes all kind of like reflect these core values, right? So from my perspective, to me, it's a competitive advantage in a world of undifferentiated products. And it is also a competitive advantage in marketing and in getting people to like pay attention to what you're doing and to want to work with you, because it's walking side by side with someone in something, as opposed to like telling them to follow you kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's that mutual respect. It's like when we used to do MMA, like sensei, we'd be there in the dojo, we'd be looking at each other, and we're like, I'm going to hurt you. And you knew that they were thinking, I'm going to hurt you. But it's that mutual respect that you have. We know when we work together on human rights issues, or we're creating a movement, or we're creating a book together, we are there together, solid, to drive and give a voice to a mission or a purpose. Back in the 90s, when I first started in business, we called it corporate social responsibility. It was like that thing where companies were like, they'd rewrite their vision statements or their mission statements, and they put them up with a nice landscape or a sunset or a boat on a lake. And then it'd all been a really nice frame. Some companies have a tacky one, but never mind. Sorry, not sorry. But, like people would, wherever they were at, and you'd go into these, even whether it was a shipping company or a trucking or a design company, every mission statement was the same. No, it's not. Your mission is not the same as my mission, even though we both create content.
Yeah.
Because I'm not you and you're not me. It's like when I got arrested in Scotland, which you can read about in Crossing the Line, I was offered that if you admit to 2 of these charges that we're bringing against you, we'll let go of one another. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, why would I do that? That's a lie. That's a bribe. Why would I admit to something I haven't done? I would rather go to prison for telling the truth and lie and give truth to their lies. I stood in sovereignty. I stood in my power. And that is what a lot of people, when they do that, their business accelerates, because people know who they are. They know what they stand for. And it's when you have that level of conviction, like I nearly had a different kind of conviction, but when you have that, people know that, you know what, I can go at Dawn. I trust her, because it doesn't matter how hard the truth is. It doesn't matter what she's prepared to risk. I trust her. Yeah. And that's the thing, whether you're working on human rights and standing up for your events in America over the last few weeks, when you stand for something, the other people that are standing for that, you don't know who they are. You don't know who they're connected to. We can all join forces on marketing or how to do it, and how to, I don't know, liaison, how to sell houses or how to write books. We can all stand for that, and we can all share information on that. But when you start sharing with people who've got the same core values as you, and they also get that buzz out of a small child's face lighting up, knowing they can go to school or that they're going to get food tomorrow, and when you see people think that human rights and social justice are depressing issues, but they're not. They're exciting, because you're creating solutions. and you're putting jigsaw pieces together around the world. And that's one of the reasons why these anthologies that I create with people and bring them together with their expertise. If I, as a solo author, can reach people and have them message me and say, you saved my marriage, you saved my business, you saved my life, or you helped me understand what my friend or my partner or my mother or what have you was going through, that is something so powerful. But when you get together with 10 people that you've never met before, with me going, come on, let's go do this. You know, when you're doing that and you're sharing that, your depth and your own knowledge get so much stronger, and you start building another community. And then with you, each of you then go and reach 9 other communities that you would never have done, like you're doing with the podcasts. Some people love to read, some people love to listen to podcasts, some people will sit there and watch video all day. I haven't got time to watch videos. I'm reading books, I'm writing books, and I'm out there raising money and feeding people. Because when we, like Gail, when we did the fundraiser recently, if I hadn't have been an author of human rights and something that I can't really connect to some of the community groups, because they're like, well, what do you know about it? Show me who Pablo is. Not someone who's the big, fabulous, high energetic, chilled out now because he's had a couple of beers on 4th of July. You know, he's chilling out and he's got the, oh yeah, post beer glow. You know, but people want to know that when they come to a 4th of July barbecue with you, that they can talk about more than business, that they can talk about real stuff.
Yeah, that happened today. All right, so I agree with all of this stuff. I want to get into how you do it, how you start writing, like how you build up the courage to publish this stuff, how you write, you know, for non-writers that aren't as like into it. I know that you help people kind of like loosen that muscle and get going. But first, everything.
Not through yoga.
Huh?
Not through yoga. Let's just be honest.
Okay. So first, I just want to validate what you're saying, right? Because to me, everything that I'm doing today comes from the business wins of getting really active with local nonprofits in Miami, right? Like when I was stuck in my career in Miami, I was also starting these young professional groups for Habitat for Humanity, for Miami Lighthouse for the Blind, for Dream in Green, and for the Beacon Council, that ended up completely transforming my idea of how I think that business development should happen. Because like you said, when I was organizing events with people, when I was out there asking for money for causes, when I was out there showing up to support things and volunteering for things, you're building these deep relationships when you share this like common mission. And that was like my first aha moment in all of this stuff. And that ended up leading to me being able to host events for people that I want to do business with, that I would pair together with people that they want to know in front of an audience of people that I have been serving, right? So like that was the first beginning of this iteration of what the podcast is. And, you know, this to me is the scale of all that stuff, right? But I know that when we were first talking, you have a really concrete example of a business case for this, of somebody that published a book about something that they really care about that then impacted their business. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, well, when I wrote Annie's biography, Becoming Annie, yes, that was me writing her biography about her, because I don't ghostwrite. I will not write a book that's like, no, like that I'll co-author it with you or I'll write it about you, but I will not ghostwrite, because again, the subjects that I talk on, I have to be open, honest and upfront with people, because the information I share, it wouldn't fit the brand very well to pretend, put my name somewhere it doesn't belong. But with Annie, when people read her book, they got to know Annie a lot more. And then she's gone on to become one of the chair people of the G100, which is 100 women globally who have got 100 women in their country. And she was saying to me that it's elevated her career because people have got to know different sides of Annie. They've got to see her. So when people either write their biography or their memoir, or have me write their biography, or they share a chapter in a book, in an anthology, people are getting to see a bigger picture of who they are. Because like on a podcast, we're talking about a specific project or a specific angle of business. But when you write a chapter and you show people, you know what, this is a little bit about me. You know, it's an 11, 12 page ad going international that, you know, you're not going to get for, if you want to bring it down to the nuts and bolts and the shallow aspect of it, it is an 11-page international aspect advert that's going to go in over 150,000 publishing platforms, okay? But it's about the things that people learn about Annie. She told me, because my career has like accelerated since she did that, and the knock-on effect for her husband and her family as well. It raises the whole family. Like James, like, oh, you're Annie's husband. You're the hunky husband. And so then when they go out to black tie dinners, people have got other things to talk to them about, which breaks down more on the icebreakers to actually allow them to open up to have other conversations and share a bit more privately with each other. So those bonds are made a lot stronger. And then more and more projects, bigger projects accelerate from there or get created from that. That's not going to happen a lot of the time if you're just focusing on one subject. But when you're writing a book about yourself or a chapter, you're sharing a lot more about you. Say, this is me, warts and all.
What business is Annie in?
Annie was the CEO of Glaucoma Australia. She also set up a business. Annie's like a big deal. She's lovely. And the thing is, when Annie and I first started working together, all we did was giggle, and she nearly crashed a car. She's climbed Ben Nevis, like she's done, not Ben Nevis, she's went to Everest Base Camp. I found stuff about Annie that she'd even forgotten about. And she was like, how did you know about that?
So she was CEO of
Glaucoma Australia.
What is that? I'm not familiar. Like a $100 million company, $10 million company, $20 million, something like that?
Well, it's a charity. It's like one of the big, and her husband has the largest. So it's not just CEOs of fortune, like $1 million companies. We're talking like huge charities, global charities, where you've got prime ministers and governor generals on speed dial.
Very public figures. I got you. Okay,
you're hanging out with rock stars.
I just wanted to set the context of like, this is not, this is somebody that has a lot to lose, right? Because when you're this big of a public figure, you put something out there about your life, it opens other doors. So was she part of, you wrote a whole book about her, or was it like,
I did. I stalked her.
How did she distribute it? Did she send it to her email list? Was it kind of like, hey, if you're thinking about donating, here's a book about my life first? Like how did she get that in people's hands? Did she do like a marketing campaign?
She did. What she did, she bought up lots of the author copies herself, and we did an online launch with people all around the world. And this was in August 2020. We only met 4 months before that. So, we had research, book published, launched, done. And now what she does every time you'll see a lot of people have their book in the background.
Yeah.
But Annie was, every time she goes to an event, it's open doors. She's able to talk about it on her podcast. She's able to talk about it on other people's. The books do open doors. But what happened was it was reaching communities and individual readers that are not even related to businesses, like in any managerial way, shape or form. They would read Annie's book because they want to know how to be like Annie. But the thing is, they worked in organizations, and they were able to then take copies to actually then submit to their boss. So this thing, books will reach people at different levels. And if you're working as, the PA or a graphic designer, or even the cleaner in someone's business, and you pick up a copy of a book that's about someone else, you don't know like how good a relationship for everybody. And this thing, when CEOs and massive directors write a book about their life, their employees sit to see them as a human. That actually then builds employee engagement. So people start working more because they go, you know what? I get him now. I get her now. Yeah. I'm going to work even harder at my job. I'm going to work smarter. I'm more engaged in this business now. Productivity goes up. Annie is seeing results, and and even she's joined for different anthologies that I've done. We've had Lani just do her 2 anthologies. Lani's now creating a documentary series. She was a powerlifter. She just started her business. We've got Marsha Martin, who was the vice president of Landmark Education. She's joined me for anthologies, lended her name to it. There's people see different things, and that's the thing. It's not always a tangible result that you get to see straight away. This is long game, and that we like the long game.
I do. One of my core values is play the infinite game, right? So it's not just opening up opens up new relationships, right? Like I've had my financial advisor, the first time that this kind of hit my radar, I think it was like around 2015, my financial advisor, Olti, gave me a book that he co-authored. I was like, oh shit. Like I was like, oh, I just got really impressed by you, Olti, right? This like book as a business card is super powerful to open doors. Also, the idea that it can reach people that you had no idea for is really, really powerful. You just mentioned it also strengthens existing relationships, whether it is people that thought they knew you and now see a different side of you, internally or externally, right? Inside of your company, having your employees see this like other side of you and humanize you, then creates loyalty, creates longevity, right? Like lifetime value of clients and employees. But not everybody has the wherewithal to hire an awesome author like you, right, Dawn? And not everybody has, and not everybody is like I'm speaking personally, right? Like I'm trying to start this newsletter. I've got a writer on my team, Nicola, who's awesome. And I know that I need to add more to it, right? Like I need to add some writing, and I'm trying to get better at writing and telling my own story and expressing myself. If somebody is like, in a year, I want to get to the point where I'm writing like 1,000 words a day, and eventually I want to write a book. How do I start? How do I start? Kind of give me some writing exercises or some tips for somebody that is pretty good at speaking, has some pretty good ideas, but haven't done a lot of this, of like writing and putting it down. Talk to me.
You look like the dude out of Thunderbirds. It's like Penelope's coming through in a moment. Okay, so there's different ways in which you can do it. For me, I just say to people, just start writing as if you're writing to yourself. Just like there's like some people can just do a conscious stream. If I was to be sat in front of you, if I'm that piece of paper in front of you, or that Word document or Pages or whatever platform you use, if I'm that piece of paper, what would you say to me? What would you be saying? You're just like, right, and then this happened, and oh my god, and then she went off on one, and like, oh my god, we nearly lost her, and she went off on so many tangents, and and just write to the piece of paper or that document, get that out of the way. And that, and those of us who journal, if you're not journaling, like, why are you not journaling? It's like casting a spell and writing a contract with the universe. Like, it's just an amazing thing. If you're not journaling, start journaling. And don't worry about the grammar police, and getting all the spellings correct and all the punctuation, and whether you've got a 1 space or a 2 space. I'm still having debates with that. I'm a 2 spacer. I'm not a 1 spacer.
I'm a 2 spacer.
Julie, I'm not a 1 spacer. But it depends on who you are, because some people will send me manuscripts and they've recorded it all. Yeah, it's very much like texting, Lee. But the thing is, it's like there's Irving Welsh, who wrote Train Spotting. Oh my God, I had trouble reading it. Like when I went to watch the film, I had to take my Scottish friend with me to translate it for me. And I speak English, and my grandfather is Scottish. How come I didn't understand it? It doesn't matter whether you're getting the spelling right. Corey, who's one of my clients, when he wrote his book, he just went blur, like just did it all. And I could so hear Corey. And the thing is, so many people, they get so caught up in, I don't know what to say. I've got to get it right. Or like, what will people think of me? Own who you are. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. When you read Corey's book, you hear Corey. So when Corey goes on a podcast, people can relate to him more because they could hear him in the book. They could hear his Southern drawl. And the words he used, I'm like, what does that word mean? We need to put a footnote.
So do I speak in run-on sentences? Because when I talk, because when I write, I feel like I write, like I have to really stop myself from writing run-on sentences. And I wonder if there is, I'm hearing from you, here's a run-on sentence right now. I'm hearing from you, start a writing habit, right? Like just start writing and journaling in the morning, loosen that thing up. And then when you're ready to start actually writing for other people, just write like you talk, right?
To begin with, these are the first steps.
So that's to begin with. That's just to kind of break the seal and just get into the habit of like a blank screen or
just in the habit,
and not being intimidated by it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to go into a gym and start lifting 120 pounds if you can't lift 40. That's just going to put your back out. It's going to hurt you. You've just got to get into that habit. If people can get up at 5 a.m. in the morning and go do Wim Hof, They can get up in the morning, make themselves a cup of coffee and start writing. Seriously, let's just put things into perspective here.
Okay, that makes sense. Wake up, take a cup of coffee, start writing.
Right? Yeah. Create before you consume. Don't read anything. Don't listen to anyone. Don't have a conversation with anyone. Don't do anything. Just purge everything. And then once you've done that, put Wordle down. I smashed that this afternoon, by the way, Lee. There's a side note.
So wake up and create before you consume. Continue.
Absolutely. Conscious, like create before you consume. And then once you've started getting into that habit, start going, well, if I was to write a book, what would it be about? Start doing your chapter outline. Make down your top points. And under those key points, whether there's 10 or 15, start then making 3 more points. And then add to that. And before you know it, as you're spacing it out, you've got a paragraph on something. Then you've got another paragraph. So you've got like the main chapter headline, and then you've maybe got 4 or 5 points underneath, which is the beginning, the middle, and the end, and a little bit of padding in between. You know, so that's how you're starting to build everything. I mean, I write about 10,000 to 12,000 words a day on average. Yeah.
Jesus. All right. Okay. Yeah.
So I can help people. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Brett's writing that he outlined his journey, and he outlined his journey to build a journey. That's awesome. So I recently read Brett's manuscript that's coming out soon. I thought it was awesome. So, all right. So recap. First is start journaling, start writing. Don't overthink it. Just type, write, whatever you got to do. It helps to wake up in the morning before you start consuming anything. Just like let your thoughts spew out onto paper or screen or whatever it is. Take a cup of coffee. Second is, once you get that habit down, start thinking, what would my book be about? Start thinking of topics and outline, and start just brainstorming on that type of stuff. And then at some point, start filling that in. Is there so let's say I have an outline, right? Like I've figured out my relationship flywheel book. It's about value, connections, and content, right? So I'm going to start talking about how the relationships are built on value, right? So you got to find ways to add value to things. And these are different forms of like value creation that you can create. Then relationships, there's different ways to network and build relationships, right? Like from the fundamental ideas of vulnerability and shared experiences to different, like how to start a relationship, how to continue a relationship, how to like accelerate
how to end one,
stuff like that. Well, for me, it's about building relationships, right?
Yeah, so but you've also got to know when to end it.
Yeah, but I also got to know what I'm an expert in and what I'm not, and I suck at that. So I'm not going to give you advice on that one. Okay. but you know, that would lead. Get
a co-writer to add that bit.
Yeah. That would lead into content, right? And like the idea that content is what scales relationships, and the aha moment there, and then all the content strategies, whatever that leads into basically this idea that the ultimate form of this is this internet talk show where I'm doing it in front of people that I want to like help, and in front of people that I want to meet, and then repurposing the content. Once I have all that pretty much laid out in my head, right? So where do I start once that happens? Do I just go into the easiest bullet point? Do I start at the beginning? Do I need to write an intro? Do I need to write an ending?
You're overthinking it.
I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, overthinking it. Okay. I seriously do. Like, it's just like, but this is what loads of people do. They overthink it and they get like, okay, well, have I got to do it this? You've just got to, I mean, sometimes I write a book and I've got like chapter 10 written before I've even thought about what chapter 1 is. I haven't got like, and it's, what were those science fiction books where they had, I think it was Will Harbison, where he wrote some of them in the middle and then he went back to the beginning and gave you the beginning of the story. So the thing is, it's like, you've got to write what comes up for you, first of all. Okay, because it's like when you do a jigsaw puzzle, you don't get all the pieces right next to each other in a line. You find all the straight edges first, and you put those out and you put the framework in. And then you'll just go, oh, actually, there's that bit that goes there. And you start building the jigsaw from very different places and very different angles. And the same with a book. And that's the same with like if you're building this human rights project, or like you're actually giving your voice to a project. I wanted to bring up, you mentioned earlier about some of the things that you go out into the community to do. It's understanding what that common theme is. Why do you choose those charities? Why do you choose those community projects? What is it that connects each and every single one of them to Pablo? Why did you choose those? There's got to be a reason why it was those kinds. And then that will be the main theme throughout your book. Mm-hmm. This is why. And as you're writing it, you're probably going to uncover and unravel more about who you are. Because the thing is, it's not just about writing a book for other people. This is writing a book to get to know yourself. Mm. And that's why a lot of people won't write a memoir or a social justice book, or they won't put themselves on the page because they're afraid of who they are. They don't even know who they are. And when we know who we are, and we've actually owned that, we've put our name to it, then what you're doing is it's giving you better clarification on the bigger impact you want your business to have in the world. I know that I want a Nobel Prize for Literature. You can only get that if you have made a serious impact on human rights levels. If you haven't made an impact in human rights with the field of literature, you're not getting that award. I want it. What Dorney wants, Dorney gets.
I believe that.
I want a cup of tea.
It's not just about writing a book for other people. You're writing a book to get to know yourself. Rowan, quote card. Let's go. I like that. That's
on it, Rowan.
Okay, cool. All right. So that's good. So it's start the writing habit. Then once you're used to that, now you're outlining it. Then once you have the outline, whatever speaks to you, just lay it down.
Absolutely.
Right? That makes sense. Okay. So that's writing a book. You said working on a project. I would imagine that's also, I'm stuck on this newsletter that I've been trying to publish for
You're not stuck on it. You keep telling yourself you're stuck on it. Stop it.
Okay, fine. I'm not stuck on a newsletter. It is in
Don't
progress.
say you're not stuck on it, because that's a double negative. So you can't say that. You're writing a newsletter.
Okay.
And Gareth is going to appreciate this. There is no try, there is only do. Listen to Master Yoda a bit more. Let's be honest.
All right. I got it.
Hey, Gareth.
Okay, cool. This works. This sounds like it works for even smaller pieces, is kind of where I was going for, right? Which is where I'm drawing inspiration for. I would love to hear, it's one thing to write a book. It's another thing to write something smaller and try to get it to a book, right? Like I would love for you to tell me about the uniqueness of this anthology concept of stuff that you work on and how that works. Cause I think it has another extra community element that I think is really interesting. You want to tell me about these anthologies and how they fit into this?
Yeah, I love anthologies. I mean, they can be a bit hard going sometimes when you've got people on different time zones, mostly 10 different time zones, different cultures, high, low context, very differing variations of what time actually is. Like I'm an hour early or I'm an hour late, but what is late anyway? And am I on time or in time? That causes an issue. Yeah. But again, by people that are working with each other across that, they learn to understand who they are. Again, what judgments or what triggers, as to use a fashionable or trendy buzzword, let's play buzzword bingo, see how many we can come up with. When you are working with people that you've never worked with before, and you're all holding space for each other, whether it's directly and you really connect, or whether you are at a distance, you're all working towards a common goal to actually share. And some people have written books, some people that will join an anthology, some people, this is their very first time. And I like it when my projects have people at different levels of business experience, different expertise, different industries, different nation, cultures, ethnic, religious, gender, generation. When you've got a group of people working together, again, it's that transformational process. It's that healing process of yourself that you didn't even know you needed healing, because there are some times I'm like, oh my God, I wish that Colombian would put headphones in, or that Brazilian would turn the music down, and we don't need 6 lots of bloody music by the pool. I'm getting really triggered by it. Seriously, put some earphones in. Is it that hard? Did headphones and earphones never get to Colombia? Okay, so what does that say about me? When you are writing this stuff in a 7,500 word chapter, which is ideal, lots of people will throw 18, 20 people at an anthology. Stop it. Stop doing it. You're devaluing the journey. When you've got a nice 7,500 words, that's 2,500 for the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that's digestible. I would say that's only 7 days writing, 1,000 words a day. If you can't do that, that's 14 days at 500 words a day. Yeah. And when you work with people like myself on these anthologies, you get all of that support. And when people are at different levels of business and experience and expertise, everybody's raising everybody else up. mentoring each other. But it's such a beautiful fusion because we're discovering solutions in one country or pieces of information in one country and sharing it. Again, books are some of the oldest ways we've had of communicating all of this. So I'm not reinventing the wheel, but I'm giving people that opportunity to go that little bit deeper, but not take the full bite of the elephant, because I really like elephants.
Me too. I feel like we started off at 100 miles an hour. We probably should have started a little slower on the anthology thing. Brett just put, I just looked up anthology, love this collaborations, right? So what we mean by these anthologies is that Dawn will put together, like, Dawn, you offered this to me a little while ago. It wasn't the right moment for me, but you'll put together a topic, right? Yeah, not yet. Put together a topic, like what does male leadership today look like, right? What is what is a male leader supposed to be like right now? And let's say me, Brett, Gareth, Jerry, and Lee each write 7,500 words, and boom, we got a 7-chapter book that is our perspective on male leadership that that each of us can hand out.
And Esau, he's not getting away with this. Esau as well.
And he's, I was just talking to the folks that are on the call right now, right? But like this idea that we can all go through this journey together, guided by somebody like Dawn that can help coach you a little bit while you are putting your thoughts on this particular thing that isn't exactly about your business, right? Like Gareth is in a drone business, in a drone enablement business. Lee is in real estate and hard money lending. Brett is a contractor about to turn into a tech entrepreneur, right? Like I'm a marketer, but we can write. And Jerry is a business coach, former CEO, you know, current CEO, I guess, of his own thing. Anyways, he's the ultimate CEO. But we can all come at it from.
I was listening to him on the way on the airplane. Jerry, I like your show.
Yeah, you've listened to Best Places to
Live?
Oh
yeah. 17 hours the flight was. I got so many episodes of Jerry, and it was like Jerry Seinfeld. It was great.
So it's 5 people kind of going through this journey, putting our thoughts together, right? The co-creation is something that's big as the things that we preach here at Be the Stage, because you're going through this journey and putting your thoughts and packaging it together so that now you are guilty by association with each other when you publish it.
Partners in crime.
Yeah, your partners in crime, right? So now I get to be guilty by association with Brett and Gareth and Lee and Jerry forever because it's in a book, right? So that's a brand race for everybody. If you want to be guilty by association with me, you get to actually have a book without having to put in all the work of a book. And on top of that, you're also doing this whole like, hey, this is what I believe in, right? It's like if somebody is thinking if they want to do business with you, be like, all right, just read this like chapter of me and my book. And if you agree with the stuff that I say, then we're probably a good fit. If you don't, no big deal, right? So like, I love that as a low friction content play, to be perfect. I see it as a content play, right? Like to me, it's a content branding play that can open great doors for you while exercising this muscle and doing something good for the world, right? Like sharing intergenerational wisdom.
It is. It's like a men's circle or like a human circle. It's not just men or women. And this thing, it creates, because you're sharing such vulnerabilities as a group through the process, and you're saying, you know what, this really matters to me. Yeah. Like I remember saying to someone recently, if I can't trust you to look after my kids, I'm not doing business with you. And they're like, what?
Makes sense.
Well, why would you say that? I'm like, because how we do business together impacts my children, directly or indirectly. If I can't trust you to hang out with them, help them become the best version of themselves, or just have a laugh with them, or take them on the biggest, fastest roller coaster ever and hear them scream and go, yes, if I can't trust you to do that, then why would I do business with you? Our values are so misaligned. But the other thing is, it's like when the Scotland thing happened, I was willing to risk my freedom. I was willing to risk time away from my boys. I know I've been traveling. There was so much that I was prepared to risk. And when we put our names to something, whether it is the situation that we're seeing going on in America at the moment with women's rights, whether it's stuff that's going on in Angola, or the stuff going in, parts of, like Issa and I mentioned the other week, about the Israeli-Palestinian thing. If we're not willing to come together and put our name to something, how can we solve these solutions? We're just going to be those people sitting in the ahwa drinking coffee, bitching about something, or sat around, the table moaning about something, but putting our walk behind something, putting our name to something, that matters, because that's not going away.
Yeah.
You matter. What you stand for matters.
Yeah. I love the perspective of, if I can't trust you to watch my children, why would I do business with you? Right. Like this, it impacts your livelihood. The people that you have gained their trust, that to me is the highest form of currency in the world, right? This like relationships and trust. So why would you put that stuff at risk if you can't? This is a theme that we wanted to talk about, this like risk versus reward of putting your name on something. You believe that the more you stand behind something, right? Like the more you're willing to be out on the ledge, as far out on the ledge as possible, the more value it can create for you. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. You're going all in. It's like eat, pray, love. If you're going to get a tattoo on your face, you better be serious. We're not talking the Maori haka warrior like facial tattoos that women have. We're talking like, if you are going to go all in on stuff, because that takes a pair of ovaries if you're a woman, and that takes a pair of if you're a guy, right? So I went really shy then. Why did I do that? Right. But if you're willing to go there for a book and for a cause that means so much to you, that actually underpins everything of who you are, imagine what else is possible. Imagine what else you'd be able to do after that. No, you did not, Lee. I'm in England now. Very, very proper. Hey, Gareth.
I thought she said
what?
Cojones? That what he said?
Cojones. I said cojones. Yeah. But again, it's like everything we do, there's that theme running through it. When we were looking at the first, I don't know, half a dozen books that I wrote, it was like, okay, what's the common theme throughout all of this? What is that theme through? I mean, I know most people are not going to write and publish the amount of books I already have and I'm planning on doing. Going, oh my God, I'm going to be like 100 before these are finished. But what is a common theme with everything we do? Whether it's our passion projects, like whether it's our philanthropy, whether it's the sports we take, like, or whether it's the books we read, maybe the documentaries or what is that common theme? I love criminology. I love getting behind someone's mind and go, what makes them tick? What did they go through? What makes them that way? I'm so nosy. I'm curious, to put it in my politer way. But it's like, whether you're using the book to raise funds as a part of activism. So for example, you're a group of mums, and you all want to get together and you want to raise funds for the local community so that you can put a playground in for your kids. How are you going to fund that? How are you going to raise those funds and put yourself on a level where you can actually have that level of conversation at a government level, whether it's local government or national government, or rights for kids to play, rights for women to be able to support their community? So do you know what I mean? It's like there is something that connects everything we do. And if we don't step up and we don't honor that calling, then we're not being true to who we are. It's like my friend who posted that Dolly Parton thing today. Figure out who you are and then do it on purpose. I love that.
I love that. Yeah. So Jerry puts in the chat, the only thing you find in the middle of the road is dead animals. This was something that it took me a while to learn as well, right? Like for a really, really long time, I was a generalist, and I knew that I was good enough to be an executive at a big company if I really wanted to, or a middle manager if I really wanted to, or whatever. And it wasn't until I went completely all in on this idea that what I love is relationships and how you build them. And, the shadow of that is influence and manipulation, but the positive of that is bringing people together in community, right? So I went deep down the rabbit hole of studying all this stuff, and then even deeper down the rabbit hole of how do I build a company where the thing that I love to do, that is what I do best, will be the thing that drives the engine of the company succeeding or not. And ever since I've done that, it's been a super lumpy road, but my energy has never been higher. My sense of fulfillment has never been higher. And at the end of the day, the simple way of putting it is that you see everywhere how conflict creates attention. And what you're seeing is a lot of folks that are going down the negative side of conflict, right? Like going really on the extremes of what they believe in a negative way to piss people off, to get attention, to get their way. So why not just fill the world with people that are willing to go to the extremes of the positive side of what they believe in to piss people off, to get attention, right? Like not piss people off, right?
Like dancing in airports.
Yeah, like dancing in airports, 100%. So I love the idea. When you first told me the whole risk versus reward, I was like, but it's 100% accurate, right? Like it is.
If you're not willing to go all in, then if you're not willing to risk it all, to have it all, you're not committed. You don't want it bad enough. You seriously don't. You can talk all you like.
Yeah.
But unless you are willing to lay it all on the line or walk the line, as Johnny Cash said, if you're not willing to go all in, you don't want it. You're just playing. And the thing is, you can see me writing as you're talking. Always got it. Feel naked without stationery.
Don, before you share what you're writing, in 5 minutes, we're going to roll into relationship-driven growth strategy sessions. I just like to tease that, right? So we're going to do that. I got some stuff to share. I see all of our favorite community members are here today, so we're going to do that. But I want to invite you. I just see that Milana, I haven't met you, Milana. So just letting you know that once the show's over, we go into an open Q&A session of just strategies around content creation, around podcasting, how to reach out to people, everything, the intersection between relationships and building your business. We're going to go into that. I have a couple of things to share, but Don, I want you to like, tell me, what are you writing about? What are the notes that you're taking? Let's land this plane.
Okay. So, So you just mentioned about the conflict distracting attention, people focusing on the negative, like, but there is stuff, there's trauma, there's, there are levels of it. When I walk down the street and I'm singing and I'm dancing with my headphones in, like I was in the airport in Houston and in Costa Rica and in Heathrow today, like no one's going to bother me. So I'm actually showing people, I don't care whether you like what I do or don't do. Lots of people were inspired by me. Some people joined me. It's great. We're having a right party. But what happens is that's a way of protecting myself as well. Because no one's going to mug me walking down the street because everybody's looking at me and then they're going to be a prize mugger. Like that. So it's a way of me protecting myself, but it's actually doing it in a fun way. Because the thing is like, a lot of women would love to. How many people would like, oh my God, they hear a tune and they just want to bust out some moves. Like, I love this tune. Just dance. Who cares if people see you? Who cares if, like, you have just made someone smile? You've just started a party. I remember when I did the landmark education, I sat there after the advanced course and went, I really want to dance. And my friend T went, oh my God, do you? I was like, yeah, I really want to dance. She was like, okay. I was up and I was dancing to the tunes in my head. I was having a proper rave, Gareth. And then she got up and then a couple of other people got up. Within 2 minutes, no word of a lie, the whole 300 people in that room were up dancing to a silent disco going on in their head. We then ended up doing the conga all the way through Eversholt Street premises over 4 floors just because I wanted to dance. And I raised the vibration. And that's how it is. It's like when you do something, oh, I just have to do this, or I can't keep quiet on this anymore. People have got to know. That's it. I'm done. That soapbox, give me the microphone. I'm not shutting up now. When you there is something. And why hide that from the world? Because that's beautiful. That's who we are. If we're not going to go all in on that and own who we are, then we're just pretending.
I love it, Don. What a great story. What a great story, right? Because so many truths in that. The idea that being noticed is good for you no matter what is counterintuitive to the way that some people are raised. But it's true, right? Like
me, I'm shy as anything.
Yeah. There you go. Right. Like, but being noticed is good for you. It is safety. If somebody knows where you are, like I think I have this like highlighter yellow rash guard that I wear when I'm surfing. And my wife's like, oh, you just love attention. I'm like, no, man, like if I'm drowning or something in the water, like I want people to see me, you know?
Absolutely, you do.
Especially
Gareth with his drone.
Especially Gareth with his drone. Or this idea that if you are known for something, right? If you throw up a big enough beacon, you're going to get the opportunities that you want, right? Like that is the way that you get noticed. And last but not least is this idea that, man, if you are out there doing it, going so hard at it, right? Like dancing in the airport, getting people to do a conga line, you're just always going to be memorable, right? Like that idea that you raised the vibrations for all those folks, you didn't just like that story has been told by every one of those people that were in that conga line hundreds of times, right? Like I was in this airport, this crazy lady started dancing. I decided to join. It was the best airport experience of my life. Like, you know, you never know what comes out of that stuff. Like I really, really believe in making those moments happen. So I love that we ended on this idea of just, if you're going to show up, right? Like show up and be your best, and do the most, because that's how the stuff that you want is going to happen to you. Don, how do people connect with you? What's a good introduction for you, right? Like, who are you looking to meet when the hundreds of people that listen to this podcast listen to it?
Wow. You know, they can join me on LinkedIn. Just type in Dawn Bates. Go to Pablo's friends list. I'm on there because he's my friend. Or they can just type in dawnbates.com and check out my website. There's lots of updates always going on at the moment because we're launching the Author Academy. Whereas if people can't and don't, if I'm a bit too scary at the moment to work with on a one-on-one or a group project, you can actually go and do my 7-week author course, or 7 module if you're not quite hard enough yet. Go hard or go home. Not really. Take as long as you like. I've got you. dawnbates.com. I'm even on Twitter now, believe it or not.
Don, I'm just so pumped we got to do this, right? Like I'm man, you know, this is one of those, like, how in the heck, if it weren't for the internet and if it weren't for social media and if it weren't for Zoom and all these like technological
things that happen, you were going to bring that up, conversation.
How could we have become friends, man? You know, like I'm just really grateful for you. I'd
have found you. Don't worry.
Yeah, but listen, I'm not celebrating other things. I'm celebrating you, right? Like you are a person that brings so much energy and so much passion and so much of yourself to everything that you do. And I really, really respect that. And I'm humbled by the idea that I've been able to throw up a big enough beacon to attract something so awesome into my life. So I just thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being such a part of active member of the community. And yeah, thanks for being you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to dance in conversation with you. And when I get to America, we are doing the conga. Got my leg warmers on. Already got my leg warmers on ready.
All right, I'm in.